Hey everyone, it's Blair here at Time Trades. Thanks for joining me this weekend. Today is Sunday, August 20th, and this is your weekly video. We did not have a good week last week when it came to the forecast, and I'll share with you what I overlooked and what I learned that is new knowledge for me after the events of last week. But I'm going to give myself a D for last week's forecast. It's not an F because we did get a bounce on Monday where we thought we would get a bounce right on this magic level here. But the first clue that the forecast was going wrong was that we could not separate above the magic level at about 15,127 or so. So on Tuesday, when it pulled back to that white magic level, that was certainly a clue. And then Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, the rug got pulled. So one of the things that I learned, and I learned lots from the events of last week, wanted to just turn on Gann Fans and share with you just how incredibly good Gann Fans are in terms of containing this price action. So this Gann Fan here is anchored to the top of on July 19th. This big move down here on July 20th was partially triggered by the Tesla earnings announcement. And then price recovered back to touch the 1x1 down from that point, okay? And ever since then, pretty much, it's been playing Pong within the 1x2 and the 1x3 down, okay? So we thought we would get a little bit more of a recovery or a bounce off this white magic level. We did not. But honestly, just trading touches of these Gann Fans would be very profitable. And a couple of things I really like about them. And one is they're not lagging. Okay, so they're not like an EMA. They don't look at price 21 bars ago or whatever your duration is. Secondly is, we've got this anchored to the highest high in one of the Venus intervals, and Venus intervals is probably one of my new favorite time trades indicators that launched last week. And some of the challenge with Gann Fans is just like, okay, well, sure, this is all great in hindsight, but why would you not, put a Gann Fan on every little swing high that you see? And I think this is how Venus intervals kind of enforces a bit of discipline on that, so you're not plastering your chart in fans on every little swing high. If you have like one, maybe two Gann Fans anchored to a given Venus interval, I think that's about right. There can be zero as well. You should not have three Gann Fans in a given Venus interval. That's just too much. Okay, so one of the things that's interesting here, based on the price action last week, certainly we sliced right through this this magic level here, and also the blue 1x1 down or up. This is the blue 1x1 up coming up from October. Okay, so now we're starting to take out these important 1x1s, right? And the next 1x1 below us is this one here, anchored to the April 25th. So in short, the Gann Fan trend is down. We can see it respecting the 1x3 line below and the 1x2 line above. We're breaking down through 1x1s going up. So obviously this is not a bullish look. Okay, now what do we have below us? We've got the orange magic level here. We've got a couple of Gann Fans down from near the all-time high. We've got the 1x1 up from, I think this is January. No, this isn't January. This is April. This is the April low. And then the January low is this guy down here at 14,100. And then we've got the 382. So certainly the way this is shaping up is I'm going to have a bearish stance on the market until we can see some sort of separation above this 1x2. That would be an indication of a change in trend. Now, what do we have in the timing department coming up that could trigger that kind of change in trend? So let's go and take a look here at time trades. So this is the cues, and what do we have coming up from a timing standpoint? Let's just turn on short-term waves. Okay, so this is another item I overlooked in last week's forecast is the yellow short-term wave. That is Mercury Speed. That is declining. You can see in the past when Mercury Speed declines like this, it tends to align with corrections, price corrections. Okay, so that is something that's going to be continuing until early September. Okay, and then mid-September, we've got this cluster of pivots over here. I do think that's going to be a pivot low, simply for a couple reasons. We've still got the second half of Venus retrograde to navigate, and we've got Mercury retrograde is setting up here. Mercury retrograde officially starts when yellow crosses below this white line here. That's the 0 speed indicator. So Mercury is still as positive speed, but it's slowing down. And just want to call out to my friend Marsilio on Twitter. He pointed me towards the Mercury Speed as being an important forecast item, and then also called out this week that Mercury and Mars had a near conjunction. So I've got Mercury and Venus pair, and that degree of separation between Mercury and Venus in the system, that's the blue line, but I do not have Mercury and Mars in there. So that's definitely something I'm going to be adding to time trades based on Marsilio sharing his generous knowledge there, or sharing his knowledge so generously. Much appreciate that. If you don't follow him, you're really missing out on financial astrology. That's another item I learned this week with respect to the importance of the Mercury-Mars pair. And then I think the final trigger for this 3-day flush down was really Moon in Virgo along with Mercury and Mars. So Mercury, Mars, and the Moon had a party in Virgo this week, and it was about as fun as you would expect. You don't have to be an astrologer to know that that doesn't sound like a fun party, and 3 big red candles proves it. So the Moon has moved out of Virgo, so I think we're going to get a little bit of a relief rally next week, but looking at what else I see here, let's go and take a look at Gann Waves. Now, this is another lunar cycle here that is also very good at identifying turning points. So we're going to turn that on in the time trades indicator here. We're going to turn on Gann Waves, and that's going to add a bunch more lines. So I'm going to turn off Gann Fan so everybody doesn't go mad. All right. So the Gann Wave yellow here was another reason why I thought we were going to get a reversal, because often we do get these inversions where, Gann Wave yellow is a low. As it turned out, this Gann Wave yellow is a high. So it looks to me like we're going to be going lower until at least the end of September. At least the end of August. And then this Gann Wave blue over here is September 25th. Okay. Now, if we go over and look at some of the Gann Wave behavior in Venus interval 1, and starting to develop the new forecast here. Let's go and take a look at what happens in Venus interval 1, and let's add some Fibonacci time relationships to this. Okay, so we're going to go over here and we're going to unhide some fib time zones. So is this the one? Yes, this is the one. Okay. Let's take a look. I'm going to turn off Gann Fans here, or Gann Waves, turn that off. Okay. So I went back and looked at a bunch of the Venus intervals, and Venus interval 1, of course, is where Venus is retrograde, and added some time subdivisions to that, and we can zoom in here and take a look at that. So in this case, in 2022, we can see that we made a low. Well, kind of early. It was really between the 146 and 236, but let's say right around the 236, we actually made a low here in the in terms of time progression through Venus interval 1. So let's go and take a look at the prior Venus interval 1 before that, and see where that low happened. So we can turn that on. And in this case, it was also very early. This is part of the pump coming out of the COVID crash. So very bullish bias here. And this was a Venus retrograde cycle that actually ended higher than when it started, which is actually quite rare. And certainly a huge clue of the strength of the bull run that was about to get started. So here we made a low quite early in the cycle, around 146. Okay, so let's go and take a look at the prior one. All right, so here's, I'm just going to turn all these on here. All right, so this one made a low between 236 and 382. Okay, so remember that. We'll go back and take a look at the prior one. This also made a low between 236 and 382. And let's go and take a look at the prior one. And this one here made a low between 056 and 146 with kind of a higher low at 236. Okay. Okay, so I think that's all I've done here. So that gives us some interesting information in terms of where the lows are are likely to be in these Venus interval ones. When we take a look at this and we combine it with our Gann Fans, there's one other piece of information I want to add to the mix here, and that's the DXY. Okay, so if we go and take a look at the dollar index, now the dollar index was super strong this week, but we're starting to see evidence of a turn up here. And the Time Trades machine learning forecast is showing basically a pivot week coming up. So we've got spikes in pivots, which indicate a change in trend, and we also have spikes in moves. So I think one of the things we may see here, now again, this is anticipation. When we all need to trade actual price and not, anticipate price. So that's my warning on this. But when it comes to building a forecast, it looks as though the forecast for DXY is calling for a turn, because we've got a number of pivots here this week. Price has been on a tear for over a month. So it looks to me like we are due for a reversal in DXY. So based on that, let's build a new forecast here for the NQ. And we can see here that we've got the 236 and 382 coming up. That's 236 is August 30th. 382 is mid-September, September 11th. So here's the forecast that I'm coming up with a new path and a new target box here. And this is also, the Gann Fans are a big part of this. So let me just hide some of these lines here so that it's a little easier to read, and I'll go through the rationale and you can agree with me or not. Okay, so the number one thing I took into account in building this is really this Gann fan down here. I mean, this thing has just been like bulletproof guardrails for price as price descends over the past week. So there's no point fighting that trend. As long as price stays within this Gann fan, I think we're going to see lower prices. What would change this is any sort of separation above this 1x2 down, right? So by separation, I mean the low price of the day does not intersect the Gann fan down. Okay, now that being said, we do have we're sitting on some pretty decent support here with the orange magic level. We've got a couple of 8x1s down from the all-time high. We had a fairly nice technical recovery here on Friday. And also the moon is moving out of Virgo. So I think we do see a little bit of a relief rally this week. And this is also potentially due to the forecast for the dollar index. So if the dollar starts weakening, we can see some positive flows back into stocks. However, unless and until we see some sort of separation above this Gann fan here, the trend is still going to be down. All right. So if we do indeed get this kind of recovery here and price approaches either this 1x1 up or this 1x2 down, if we are unable to clear this area, then this is an opportunity to short again. If we turn on the fib time zone here, you can see why I've put this target box in this area, because this is right between the 236 and 382. And this is an area where we've seen prior lows and prior Venus interval ones. And especially with Mercury slowing into retrograde, we see that as a consistently negative pattern in prior cycles. So if we go back and take a look at that Mercury cycle in a bit more detail, slowing into retrograde until September 5th, September 6th, September 7th, about then. Okay, so that is not the end of the retrograde cycle, that's just peak retrograde, and that's like right in the middle of this target box here. So we've already seen the tendency to cut through the 1x1s going up, so it shouldn't be a total shock to see a cut through another 1x1 here. And then finally, if we want to look at like traditional fib retracements, we've got this pink 382 here, and this is the retracement of the October low to the July high. Okay, so that's still down here. We haven't even retraced 382 of that entire up move. All right, so there's a bit of a ways to go until we get, kind of a normal looking correction from a fib standpoint. So we're going to go with this forecast here, but remember, this is just a forecast. That's it. Of course, the market doesn't care about my lines on the screen. You need to trade price. You need to manage your risk. And I think the key takeaway from the events of the last week is, this Gann fan is critically important. So as long as this holds, the trend's going to continue. All right, that's it for stocks. Let's go take a look at Bitcoin here. So Bitcoin, again, using Gann Fans as the #1 forecast tool in our toolkit. Let's turn that on and see what we see with Bitcoin. What we're seeing here is, again, another very successful example of Gann Fans. Now, when you drop down into a 30-minute chart, I'm just going to hide some of this stuff here. Okay, you can see how, you know, from the July top, okay, we cut through a Gann Fan here. That was your first clue that things were going to go south, okay? And then it transitioned sideways, consolidated sideways, and these wicks here are kind of the nail in the coffin for this move, right? This makes it so super clear that the Gann Fan down from this July high is now in control of price, that these are excellent shorting opportunities. When you see price look above here, say, no, I can't do it, and then fall off that quickly, we're going to get a trip down to the next lower fan. So here we are here in an interesting area where, let's go back to daily here. So this is the 2x1 up from the March low, okay? And it's also the 382 retrace from the November low, okay? So very important juncture here in Bitcoin. I am of the personal opinion that this holds, and we may transition sideways for a bit. I wouldn't go bet the farm on a long at this moment. It does have a little bit of work to do, and frankly, time to spend until it gets through this 1x1 descending 1x1 here. If this 2x1 holds and we start to see it tracking up there, that would be a very positive development. Because what we see with Bitcoin and Venus interval 1 is that this tends to be like the basing and ramping phase for the pumps that have happened historically in Venus interval 2. So there's an opportunity here to load up some bags through late October, anticipating a bigger pump in Venus interval 2. And you can go back in time and take a look at that and see for yourself what I'm talking about. But of course, we've also had big dumps in Venus interval 2. Nothing I say is a guarantee here. The dump just back in 2022, right? Price went from 48 down to 18, okay, in a Venus interval 2. So nothing is guaranteed, but we do get the big trending moves in crypto and stocks in Venus interval 2. So I look at this Venus interval 1 as an opportunity to smartly position for that with some low margin longs. Once we get some confidence that these lower Gann fans are going to hold, I'd love to see some sort of touch here on this 1x2 and a move up, just to sort of validate that ascending 2x1 is active and is in control of price. Okay, that's Bitcoin. We're going to take a look at gold here to wrap things up. Gold's at another very interesting juncture. We saw the DXY and its little topping pattern there. As gold as the DXY topped last week, or made what I believe will be a top, gold, of course, dropped down a little bit. But gold's behavior in Venus interval 1 is generally very good. We can, certainly the last time we were in there in 2022, we had a huge pump, but it needed to spend kind of the first 1/3 of interval 1 basing and find some support on this orange magic level. Here's a classic, retest of an orange magic level that we see all the time before that big move. Now, they're not all like this. I mean, the time before, yes, that was another encouraging sign for gold bulls. The time before that, again, we needed to base and retest on that magic level. But the second half of Venus interval 1 does tend to be pretty strong for gold. In 2017, it was a little bit more muted here. So I'm liking gold at the moment for an immediate long, given that confluence with an anticipated DXY top, and also its tendency, its price action in Venus interval 1. Okay, so this week's video took a little bit longer than usual to prepare. So unfortunately, I don't have time to cover the Nifty, but I hope you enjoyed this week's update. Please like and subscribe to the video, and also please try and check out timetrades.com. This is what I use to generate all these forecasts. It's a great collection of timing tools for day traders and investors. Okay, thank you. Have a great week. Trade safe, manage risk, and we'll talk to you later. Bye now.